Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says this year's budget was the most difficult that he had to put together, as he had fights with many members of his team about raising taxes and bailing out the state-owned entities. Godongwana told the dinner by Old Mutual and Nedbank last night that he does not plan to return to cabinet after the 2027 ANC conference. Godongwana is addressing a breakfast this morning, and our business editor Xolani Mbanjwa is joining us now live from Cape Town. Xolani, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. So after the budget that was delivered yesterday by the minister, tell us more about what was spoken about in that address.
Good morning, Aldrin. Yes, indeed, it's been a lukewarm response to the budget, and the minister has been doing some rounds. Last night we saw him at the Old Mutual Nedbank budget competition, where the brightest minds were posing tough questions to him. And this morning we are at the RMB Sunday Times breakfast, where the hard questions will continue for him. But what was interesting, Aldrin, is that last night the minister actually said that it described this budget as the most difficult budget he has ever had to put together, because there has been fights, including some disagreements with the president in terms of raising taxes. This is what he had to tell the delegates last night about how much fight there was, and the fact that there is absolutely no money that is available for the needs of the country.
Let me just tell you one thing about this budget. It was the most difficult one. Starting from the strategy and giving some juicy stuff. First and foremost, we had to do some interesting stuff. After the first quarter last year, we realized a massive drop in revenue. Commissioner who has got a version, and everybody's got different thing. I fight with all of them. But the fact of the matter, there was no money. Whatever the reason was. So what you needed to do was to do some cuts. Now, we do all of these things, we do these cuts, we're going to go to cabinet. We think that are you going to win in cabinet? You are not. So I go to my boss. I said to my boss, boss, there's no money. He says, okay, why can't we borrow? I said, we're exhausted our borrowings. No one is going to give us money. The banks are not going to give us money anymore. No one wants to give us money.
And he also spoke about the dilapidating state of state-owned enterprises and the fact that Eskom and Transnet are a drag to the economy, including the fact that since 2008, South Africa has bailed out SOEs to the tune of R500 billion. Take a listen.
For 16 years, in my view, I cannot understand why we have not been able. I take full responsibility. I'm part of the government. We've not been able to sort Eskom out. And the reason is we've focused on sorting Eskom than on sorting power to the grid. Those two are two distinct things. In trying to knock sense to people in the preparation of the budget, I said to Mampo, can you guys run off numbers for me? How much have we spent in bailouts for state-owned enterprise to date? And where did that money come from? To date, between 2008 and 2009, we spent R500 billion on state-owned, bailing out state-owned enterprises.
Perhaps, though, some of the most interesting things that he said is the fact that he is not coming back to cabinet. He's not available after the 2027 ANC conference. He says he's 68 years old and there's new blood that is needed. But he also said after this year's elections, the next three budget speeches will continue on the fiscal consolidation path, which means budget cuts are still going to continue at least for the next 3 years because there's no pressure that has to do with elections. Take a listen.
In all political parties towards an election, everybody trying to be popular. The good thing about me, I'm old. I'm turning 68. So if we go to the conference of the ANC in 2027, I'm not going to be standing. So I'm not worried about being elected, Sipho. Not at all. I've got to take the right decision for the benefit of the country. That's the stuff that has got to happen. Now, in the course of an election, we can compete with people who are going to say, you know, if I take over tomorrow, I'll pay 1,500 grants, I'll pay this, and somebody says, I'm going to tax this much. The problem is, when you tax this much, you are just adding people to the queue of the 350. Because business will readjust and cut cost.
And Aldrin, of course, we are expecting more fireworks this morning when it comes to his response to some of the hard questions that are going to be posed to him by journalists, economists and business leaders here at this particular breakfast, because he's now taking time to take in some of the responses to his budget for 2024. Back to you in studio.
Thank you so much, Xolani Mbanjwa, there, Newzroom Africa's business editor, joining us from Cape Town.